Okay, this is now tarot lesson number 78. And as I mentioned last time about the astrology course, if you're interested, send me an email and we'll take it from there. I've got material set up and I'll give you some information first and kind of try and talk you out of it. But if you're determined to go on, you can get the course. So, however, this is number 78 and there happen to be 78 cards in a deck. So it seems to me that maybe we should go back to reading cards instead of numbers and numerology and other related stuff. So how do you begin a reading? And what I like to do is get the person to pick a number between 1 and 9. And then I talk about the card that they picked or the major trump that corresponds with the number that they picked. And then I get them to pick a number between 0 and 22. And then I talk about that card as well. And this is because even if the person doesn't understand numbers, there's a wise part of you, there's a wise part of everybody, and it knows what's going on and what we're doing and why we're doing it and what we're meant to be doing and everything about us and our real self, we can say. So in some way, if you get the question to pick a number between 1 and 9 and look at the major trump and then the second number, because sometimes people will choose the same number. It doesn't have to be one between 1 and 9 and the second between 10 and 22. Sometimes people pick 7 and 7. But you, the reader, then have an idea of what the person's about and what they're learning or what they're meant to learn. And I think you can give... I've been rewriting the tarot lesson stuff, and it occurred to me that a reading is not so much about you, the reader, knowing names, dates and places for the questioner. It's more about helping the questioner to discover or rediscover their path in life. And I think that's the basic value of the tarot. And how you go about that is, for instance, by getting to pick a number between 1 and 9. I say that because it gives you a planet that's important. And so let's say the person picks the number 2, right? And so you say, okay, you picked the number 2. The second major trump is the High Priestess. So this is going to tell us something about you and your current situation and what you're meant to be like. So you can feel lonely. You can feel isolated because the High Priestess is sitting in a dark area on her own. So that can be important. Or maybe we'll look at it and think that it's important for you to spend time alone and review what you've been going through and understand what you want to do going forward. So the High Priestess in some way is important for the questioner at the time of asking the question or at the time of doing the reading. We can also have the idea that it's important for the questioner to begin a course of study, maybe, because the High Priestess has got the book of wisdom, whatever that might be, on her lap. So maybe you suggest that now would be a good time to study the tarot, for instance, or to read philosophy, or to study poetry, or to in some way expand your horizons so that you become more knowledgeable or more wise, because the High Priestess can represent wisdom. And so you are meant to become wise. So you know what ideas you've got already about the High Priestess. And what you do is, if the person chooses a number 2, just talk about the High Priestess card. And maybe the questioner's looking and saying, well, what do the 2 pillars mean? And so you give an answer about the 2 pillars. Maybe it's like you would say, okay, you can go left or right, take the middle course, because she's sitting between the 2 pillars. So if you're confused, find what satisfies both sides, and that's the course of action to take. So you picked the number 2, and then you also picked the number, let's say 6, only because it was the first major trump that I found here. So here, the Lover's card is a man. Obviously, it's a man and a woman, but so maybe it's saying that you are wondering about either meeting somebody or how the relationship you're currently involved in is going to develop, and can it develop? Or maybe you're not quite sure about the way you want it to develop. That can be why you spend some time and on your own and you think it through and make some decisions about what direction you want to go in. Because it could be that the person that you're with, that you've got a spiritual bent or a spiritual streak, or you've got an interest in getting to the underlying truth of whatever it happens to be, and your partner doesn't. So you begin to wonder, can I spend the rest of my life, or do I want to spend the rest of my life with this individual who's not really on the same page as I am? Whereas if you know they're not on the same page and you've thought it through and you accept it, that's one thing. It'll work. Whereas if you don't bother thinking it through and you go into the relationship with both eyes closed, that's not going to work. So it can be an indication that with it picking 2 and 6, you're meant to be clear in your own mind about what it is you're looking for from a romantic partner, or from other people generally, if we take the Lovers as not being romance but being other people. The other thing is, as I like the idea from older decks that the 6th major trump is called the 2 paths, and you've got a young man standing at crossroads, and on one side there's his wife and the other is his mother. And so the 2 paths in older decks would show somebody at crossroads. You're meant to choose between how you've been brought up or what you've been told to believe or accept, represented by the mother, and the wife representing a new path to follow. And so put that idea of the 2 paths together with the High Priestess. Don't just do something. Think it through first. You don't have to do anything, but it's a good idea if you isolate yourself for a bit and make some basic decisions about what direction you want to go in. And this can be where your outside reading or your just common sense can come into play, where the idea is make some decisions about what direction you want to go in. How would you personally, or what have you discovered over the years that was valuable and useful in helping you to make a decision? And so maybe that's what you talk to the questioner about. Okay, I think that you're in a position where you have to think things through. What I found worked for me was I made a list, or I used an oracle, or I thought for a while about I thought about the things that worked and what didn't work, and I thought I'm going to emphasize the experiences that I've already had in life and the people that I dealt with, and I want more of those type of people. And I know that I don't like people who drink too much or who smoke too much or whatever it happens to be. And so I don't want a smoker and I don't want a drinker, because I know what they're like and I know how I don't like them in the long run. So you talk and you're taking your experiences. And maybe yesterday you watched a video about a book that shows you how to make up your mind if you're undecided. And you tell the questioner, okay, there's this book called blah, 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 and it talks about how to make up your mind if you're not sure what direction to go in. And that can be valuable for the questioner to hear. So this is all background. So then the question is, am I going to meet somebody and have a relationship? But the question is changed because you've talked about the value of reflection and the value of thinking it through, as well as being clear in your own mind about what direction you want to go in. And so they're going to understand. So let's say we get something. I'm trying to I'm not quite sure what I'm saying. Let's say you get the Ten of Swords. Okay, so am I going to meet somebody and have a good relationship? And you get the Ten of Swords. If you began, will I have a good relationship when you get the Ten of Swords? That's kind of a shock, maybe, for the questioner. And they're going to look at it and think, oh no, stabbed in the back again. And so I'm left for dead. It's a terrible relationship, like the last one or the last three I've been involved in ended badly. Whereas if you talk to them about the importance of thinking things through and understanding and learning lessons, and then in the light of what you discover, then choose people. If you get the Ten of Swords, it's not going to be as shocking, because you've given them a context or a background or an understanding so they can make better sense of and maybe learn something from the Ten of Swords. Because you might point out that 10 is 1 plus 0 gets you back to 1 again. It's time for a new beginning because it's a 10. So what kind of new beginning are you going to have? Let it be one where you've thought it through. You know what you want more of. You know what you want less of. So make sure you get more of what you want and less of what you don't want in the future relationship. And that's why you get the Ten of Swords. It's time for a new beginning, but let it be a new beginning that's sensible rather than just a repetition of what you've been through that you know doesn't work. Or pick a number between 1 and 9, and if I can find something between 1 and 9, I'll take the World for the second one. I hate the Chariot. Shouldn't say that. Okay, the Chariot. Okay, you pick the number 7, as lots of people do. So there are 7 days in a week, right? So 7 can represent the end of a cycle, the beginning of a new one. So maybe what you do is you say to the person, you pick the Chariot, number 7. So you're coming to the end of a period of your life, or you're coming to the end of belief in a certain way of doing things. You're coming to the end of something. You're going to begin a new cycle. So think about what you want the new cycle to look like, or what you want the new cycle to be like. Also, this is the Chariot, but what's important is the driver. Where do you want to go? So if you know where you want to go, or what your destination is, or what your direction is, things will be fine, and you'll enjoy yourself. You'll be happy. If you're not sure about what direction you want to go in, it's valuable, or it will be valuable to you to think through, where do you actually want to go? Because lots of people, you just sort of wander through life and never make decisions about anything. Also, a moment ago I talked about watching a YouTube video. Recently I've come across this idea of the 12-week year. And what the idea is that towards the end of the year, people sort of get motivated and worked up to get everything finished by the end of the year. And they put a lot of energy into getting things done. And so the person thought, why don't we do this 4 times a year? Right? So so you've got a 12-week year. So you get 12 weeks, which is 84 days. And it's manageable, and it's not too far ahead that you'll get discouraged or disheartened that you're not closer to your goal. And so you divide up the year into 4 12-week periods, and you plan each 12 week, or you do 12 weeks at a time. And the reason I'm saying this is because there's 7 days in a week, and you pick the number 7. So there's a connection between what I'm talking about with getting organized 1 week or 12 weeks at a time, and you picking the number 7. And then let's say you also pick the number 21, which is the World card. So what do? Think big. Now you will be, because the nature of the World card, you will be successful whatever it is that you do. So you can be optimistic and confident. Things are going to go well, actually, for whatever reason. If we had got the Tower, number 16, then it's not. You need to dismantle stuff and begin again, think it through again. But choosing the number 21, things are going to go well for you. So think big. So when you're thinking about, I'd like to make, I don't know, $100,000 next year. No, I want to make 2 million next year. Is more like the world in the future, or the world connected with this. Okay, also the fact that this is number 7, and this happens to be number 21, and 3 times 7 is 21. So maybe that's telling you, or that's you would tell the questioner, whatever you think, multiply it by 3, and that's what's going to happen. So if it's good, it's triple good. So let it be good. If you want to make $100,000 next year, make it 300,000. So I'll go back or make it 3 million. But do you know what I mean? It's just playing around in a way, but it's giving you ideas that you can talk about to or with the questioner. And it's giving them ideas. It's putting seeds in their mind that can then develop. Because if you choose 7 and 21. If you're miserable and unhappy and scared, you're not going to pick 7 and 21. You're more likely to pick, 6 maybe, and 14 or 16 for the Tower or the Devil card or something like that. But if you're optimistic and confident, you might as well capitalize on the optimism and confidence. And it will work because you picked 7 and 21. So again, if we get, I can't find that 10 of Swords that we had a moment ago, but let's say the 3 of Swords. If you pick 7 and 21 and you're optimistic and you get the 3 of Swords, this is a glitch. This is a difficulty with a partner or with somebody, or a moment or a day of disappointment. Whereas if we had picked 6 and 16 and you get the 3 of Swords, this is a major setback. It's more like a problem that develops or that really floors you and knocks you off your feet because you picked 6 and 16, right? But by picking 7 and 21, problem cards are not going to be as difficult, or you're going to think, okay, it's a problem. I know I can solve it and I'll figure out what to do. Whereas with other numbers chosen, not weaker numbers, but numbers that show difficulty and disappointment, then cards like the 3 of Swords and the 10 of Swords reversed, for instance, would be much more difficult to overcome, would show situations and conditions that would be much more difficult to overcome. And maybe the person would go into them already defeated. Because that happens at different times. If you're sure it's going to fail, it's going to fail because, that's what you're expecting. Okay, that's something about the tarot and how you might want to begin a reading by. And the other thing is, it's getting the questioner to sort of start the ball rolling, because they picked the numbers. And you, the reader, are developing ideas based on what they told you. So it's not just about you having all the answers and plucking the answer out of thin air. You're talking based on numbers and ideas that the questioner gave you. And I think in its own way, it makes the reading more valuable or more palatable or more enjoyable for the questioner, because they had their contribution at the beginning, and you're taking them seriously at the beginning, rather than they come to you and you've got all the answers and you just sit there and pontificate and talk as if you know everything. Maybe you do know everything, but it's better from the point of view of the questioner if they've got a sense of that they started the ball rolling, that they're important and their ideas were taken seriously in the very beginning. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again in a few days. Okay, bye-bye.